To kick off our program, I'd like to welcome to the stage Sondre Rasch, founder and CEO of SafetyWing, to help us understand the problem.
Woo. All right, thank you. I love this setup. So friends, welcome, like Alma said, to the Redefining Social Safety Nets Summit. Or as my mom liked to call it, yet another one of Sondre's ideas. I used to before this work in government, for the Norwegian government, before startups. And there, we thought long term. We measured success in decades. As in, new landing page, that will be about 10 years. My name is Sondre Rasch, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of SafetyWing. We launched out of Y Combinator in 2018, and since then we've built global health insurance for nomads and remote teams, now serving hundreds of thousands of people all over the world as members. But before I started SafetyWing, as mentioned, I was a policy advisor for the government of Norway. But I couldn't shake the feeling in that job that the institutions that we had, that we were iterating on, they were already gone. That world that they were serving was already gone. So I left that world to pursue our ultimate mission, and that is to build a global social safety net, and ultimately a country on the internet. And that country will have a passport, it will have a network of embassies around the world, and it will be a sort of digital layer on top of the real world where citizenship is by choice and not by birth. So among you here today on the tables, I think you have some of the best thinkers, founders, builders in the world that are on the frontier of the topic of social safety nets. So I hope you'll make connections here that will last a lifetime and increase the likelihood that we will succeed in building new institutions. And we invited you here today because we believe that this is the most important task we can work on in the decade ahead. The task to rebuild, to create new societies, new institutions, and new social safety nets. And we need you, we invite you, to help us shape what that future will look like. So we gathered you here today, not as an audience, but as you can see, as a sort of mastermind group. It's not just talks, we want your thoughts from today and put them into action, and to shape the future of what social safety nets will look like in the future. So we're here to together envision a future worth living in. Not to obsess over what's broken, but to build what's next. But from my perspective, there are three big problems with social safety nets in the world today. Number one is, more than half the world don't have any. And they're left to their own devices if catastrophe hits. Number two, and what we're the most focused on, is that the internet is global, but national governments are local. And that makes their provisioning obsolete. Internet startups and digital nomads that we serve primarily, they felt this first. But the rest of the world, I think, is also quickly realizing this. And number three is, I believe national safety nets aren't user-friendly enough. When I was working with the government on the social safety nets, we almost never talked to users. And if we did, we for sure never listened to what they had to say. By the end of today, I hope we found a solution to each of these three problems, and we're a step closer to building institutions that will work for people. Every age carries with it its own burden. But history, I found, it's not driven by fate alone. It is also driven by vision, and it is driven by decisions. Every time a mistake of history is repeated, that's a choice. We're not condemned to repeat. In fact, we can choose to live in an entirely new way. Yet when you live under a political system, like we all do, it always seems eternal. This can never change. But history shows they rarely are eternal. For centuries, it was the city-state that defined political life. But the city-state was enveloped by the nation-state. And now, the next stage of that evolution is at our doorstep. But today is just day one. In 20 years, you can look back to today and say, I was there when it all began. So thank you for being a part of it. All right, so for now, the first talk of the day, it's a fireside chat with someone who I've loved to observe over the last decade. He can be called, maybe together with Tim Ferriss, a sort of founder of digital nomadism, remote work, indie hacking, internet startups. He has built over 70 projects, and is fast approaching, I saw today, like 1 million followers on Twitter, X. He's also, I should add, the reason why I eventually started to become a digital nomad. 12 years ago, I went to a conference in Berlin called DNX, and Pieter gave such a great speech there. And when I came back, I decided, and 1 year later, I quit my government job and became a digital nomad. So with that, give a big round of applause, calling in from Europe, the comfortable continent, Pieter Levels.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Pieter, do you remember?
Man, I remember this very, very well. Like, I didn't know it was 12 years already, but it was in Berlin. It was one of the first digital nomad conferences, and I did this presentation about the next 10 years, which is like, well, no, like more like until 2035, I think. Yeah. The future of digital nomads, and I said there will be 1 billion digital nomads, and everybody called me crazy. And you later told me, later when I met you, you told me you were in the audience, you were listening. And at the end of the presentation, I said, I hope all of you start businesses around this new burgeoning demographic. And very few did, but you did, and now it's SafetyWing. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, that talk was really transformative. I mean, later, it kind of became the truth because of the Economist article.
Because COVID, yeah.
No, I love that. It was an incredibly meaningful talk, so I agree. That's cool to look back.
Thank you, man. Amazing.
Okay, so what I was kind of hoping to talk to you about and figure out is I really like how you think about things in a sort of simple, very humane way, in kind of first principle thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So while, you know, in the audience here are sitting kind of founders and also some sort of policy people, some academic people. So I wanted to kind of pull it down and make it human a little bit. And so since that talk at DNX, you know, your predictions, while we don't have the full kind of 2035 fact yet, a lot of your predictions have come through, right? I mean, digital nomadism went mainstream, remote work went mainstream, and certainly internet startups, indie hacking, I would say, was the
for
mainstream. So looking back, I'm sort of curious, what do you think you saw back then, 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, that few others did, and why do you think it happened the way it did?
Yeah, so it was very strange. However, I think there was a lot of coincidence involved as well. Like I started traveling, so digital nomad in 2013. I didn't know about digital nomading at all. I graduated in Britain. I wanted to get out of Holland because it was very expensive, and I wanted to build startups. And Holland was too expensive to stay and build startups with my limited amount of money and savings. So I went to Asia, and then I discovered, okay, my laptop working, trying to make startups, and I was discovering this could work. Like the internet is starting to be fast enough, but it was back then, the internet was not fast in a lot of places. So it was starting to get, like, you couldn't Skype in Bali, for example, in 2014. It didn't work, only until 2017. So the internet was starting to get faster. So there was this time where there was a technological possibility of people working on a laptop from the other side of the world. And there was me, graduating from university, wanting to get out of Holland and Europe and building a startup and not getting a normal job. So that kind of went together, and then I was writing about it. I was blogging about it, I was tweeting about it, and it started to get into the technology, programmer, developer world a little bit, and so it was very nascent. It was very new and burgeoning, as you know, and I was kind of coincidental in this moment, I think.
Yeah. So in a way, we're kind of exactly. I just realized we're halfway into your sort of prediction a little bit. Like we're halfway to 2035, and I'm curious, what do you now see in 10 years? Like, if you just had to make a guess right now, where are we at when it comes to sort of internet economy startups, internet countries, digital nomadism, etc.? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think we need to do another presentation. Like I'm thinking about it, like I need to actually physically go to the conference, you know, like not like a Zoom call where I need to actually physically go and do this presentation, do an update. But it's very interesting because a lot of people were talking about it this week because I wrote about it on Twitter. I think back then it was one group. It was like people wanted to get out of the country, get a backpack, get a laptop, move to Asia or Mexico or something. It was one cohesive group, and now it's kind of split into a lot of different groups. What you see is that the people that were like 25 back then are now 35. You know, many of them have kids, have families, and they are trying to find their way how to do it in their own way because there was, you know, the numbers are different. They wanted to do it in their own way. So what you see is a lot of people are actually, there's a lot of people stop traveling and they settle down in, you know, different places than where they were born. And they're having families. Like I live, for example, in a little beach town in Europe, in Portugal, where it's very like hippie and chill, kind of like Bali. And this is like a place where I feel at home. Other people live in, you know, Costa Rica or other places in the world. And they've kind of like settled down. People are doing homeschooling, for example. They live in like eco-villages. They grow food from the farm. Is that kind of, you have the Bitcoiners also, you have the crypto people also. They have their own little nomad space. You have the network states, like Prospera, right? Like, I mean, SafetyWing, I think, is also starting kind of like a network state, if I see what you're talking about. You see that happening. Networks is very popular. Also with the crypto people a little bit. And you still have the young people, like 20 people, they're traveling as digital nomads now without even knowing it, because for them it's normal. They grew up with it, they grew up with the internet. They bring their laptop when they travel to, you know, Europe or whatever. When Americans travel to Europe, they bring their laptop, they work from Spain or Portugal or whatever. They meet up other travelers. That's kind of like digital nomad because they're working from there and they're staying for months in places. So it's kind of split with a lot of different subgroups.
Yeah. One thing I also would love to just hear your take on is that you've gotten involved in like policy work in the European Union, at least commenting, but also actually had some real participation and maybe I think might be a very important influence. But I wanted if you can reflect a little bit about that, given like who you are. Yeah.
So during COVID, like I was mostly living in Asia, right, for 10 years, and then during COVID I moved back to Europe, ended up in Portugal where I live now, and so I was kind of not involved in Europe. I would read the news maybe from Asia, but I wouldn't live here. And when you're back in Europe, when you're back in Europe for 10 years, Asia, you're like, wow, things are very different here, you know, and there's some things that are better, like the air pollution, like the air quality is very, very good here. It's clean. There's obviously more, I would say, free speech, maybe until recently, but there's more freedom here, more democracy here. But a lot of things are behind, like it's not modern, there's no convenience, there's hardly any startups now, as you see in Europe. Like the top 25 market cap companies, there's no European company in there anymore. There's no European big tech companies. Most European founders, like you move to San Francisco or you go to America to raise money and you never come back, right? So Europe is not benefiting from startup founders at all, that we educate and raise. And you can complain about that, you know, what we were doing, we complain a lot, but then you also need to start taking action. So I started tweeting about like solutions, and I started crowdsourcing ideas, how we could improve things. And people started messaging me, like, if you want to, can you advise us? I talked to Mario Draghi, the ex-Prime Minister of Italy, ex-Director of the European Central Bank. He wrote a report with my feedback and other people's feedback as well. And that was submitted to Ursula von der Leyen, like last year. That starts affecting change. But as you know, the governments are slow and bureaucratic, and the European Union is very big. So seeing change is very slow, and I don't see changes yet. Mario Draghi just last week said he doesn't see any changes yet. So this whole network state thing, and then you see the European governments, European Union, how slow this is. It's almost like we have such a baggage of 150 years of democracy and nation states, and now you have network states happening, you have tech startups happening. There's obviously a tension there that has to be resolved somehow, and I don't know how it will be resolved, but you know, I wanted to try at least make things better in my land, my homeland, Europe, right? But it's going very slow, too slow.
Yeah. One thing I'm very curious about that I'm sure you haven't thought of before, but it is the topic of today. And I would love to kind of, if you're willing to kind of run your first principle thinking on it, which is, in SafetyWing, we like to kind of aim for the ideal. So if you were making like a social safety net, a global social safety net, what do you think is the most important thing that it will provide?
I mean, well, like primarily, like I would say emergency care, right? Like if something happens to me, I want to be able to get to a local hospital wherever I am, wherever I live, or wherever I'm traveling. I want to be helped with the best care possible from me. And I want, just like any health insurance, I want it to be processed, fast, and I want to get the money quickly so I can pay for the bills of wherever I am in the world, right?
Yeah. And now to kind of angle that into network states. So you had a tweet, was it the other day, that I guess you've kind of become more bullish. You had a thought that the timing might be right for network state internet countries to be made and work. Do you want to tell me why you think that now, why the timing is now right?
Yes, so I think it was about Dubai. A guy wrote about Dubai, how a lot of people are moving there now, a lot of founders are moving there from Europe, especially like almost the whole UK. If it's like a founder or wealthy, they're moving to Dubai. And Dubai has a very bad rap in Europe. Like if you talk about Dubai, people say bad things, like, it's not good. I've been to Dubai, things are pretty good there. Like people seem happy there. There's a lot of business activity, a lot of entrepreneurs. There's reasons they're going there. And again, you see this tension. You see in Europe, the taxes are getting higher, the regulations getting higher. Free speech is getting, there's more censorship. Look in Germany, look in Britain now. So obviously, if you make it so hard for people to live in Europe and do a fair thing, like start a company or even just go to work, it's so hard to have a life here. Add healthcare to dysfunctional healthcare where waiting lists are 9 months to 2 years for certain operations. If you're paying into this system and you're not getting the rewards anymore, why would you be paying tax? I'm all for tax. If it's a payment to the government to do certain services. If the quality of the service or the quality of the service is not there anymore, or it's so delayed that people are dying from it, is that fair? Like, is that a fair way to pay tax? I don't think that's fair. So there's a tension there, and the people can move to network states, and I don't think network states may be like new countries. But look at Dubai, look at special economic zones, look at even Portugal, they attract foreigners, right, or Spain. You see more of these countries trying to attract people who, like entrepreneurs who want to spend their money, for example. So I think it's interesting to see these kind of, like you see these oil states like Qatar, Dubai, for example, but also Singapore, of course, they are more, they're governed in a more like rational way. Like, how are we going to make the best service for our citizens possible? I think that's how we should do things. But it's so hard to do that in Europe in a very democratic system where everything is so bureaucratic and so slow that the quality of government services is so low now. And that creates more tension for people to move out to other places.
Yeah. I was concluding the same. I mean, this is one of the reasons I left sort of policy work is this is too slow to adapt in time, was sort of my conclusion coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And that's because we're in a very technological time. Startups operate so fast and governments operate so slow that it doesn't go together. Like, obviously one of them is going to outrun the other. And I think one thing we should value from government though, like democracy and free speech. Those values are very important. And the problem is that the countries that are doing like really well are usually autocratic monarchies or something. And there's less free speech. So we somehow need to consider that as well. Like, how are we going to implement it? I prefer to live in a place with free speech where I can say whatever I want. As I say on Twitter all day, I say crazy stuff, and I don't go to jail for it. And I really do value that. So I hope that will be the future as well.
Mm-hmm. Another tweet you had a couple of days ago is also hyper relevant, and I'm curious myself what role SafetyWing play in that. And that was that tweet about startups will be made to support people fleeing oppressive governments. And in some sense, we already do, right? But when someone is kind of like a refugee, but they know about remote work, they typically don't even define themselves as a refugee. They're a digital nomad, even though the reason. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
but what do you think is different now? Like, why might this go up, the kind of cleaning aspect? And which startups would you love? Can you think of any startups you would encourage someone in the audience to start?
I have no idea, but I mean, what's different now? I think what's different now, 2020 normalized remote work with COVID. So before it was still very strange and fringe, right? And after COVID, everybody's done remote work, everybody's worked from home, everybody's realized you can work from home, so it's the same thing, but now everybody knows it, right? What you see now is that companies are going a little bit back to office, right? That it's a lot of this hybrid, but people don't want to go back to the office, like people prefer having their freedom. The top talent keeps their freedom. They can choose wherever they work because they are the top talent, right? Like look at the top talent in AI. They can work however they want to be because they are so important and so valuable. But regarding the question, what kind of startups should be built? I guess you could look more less towards these fast-moving digital nomads of 10 years ago and more towards these kind of like settling nomads that are looking for the most attractive place to live in terms of taxes, wealth, entrepreneurship, business climate, free speech as well, healthcare, safety, how clean are the streets, how good is it to raise kids there, what is the education there, is there international schools, all these things are more of like, I mean, we're 10 years older, right? But that is a real thing, like, that would be important to build, you know? And have the services to get these people there. But these companies exist, like, these are being built, like, there's a lot of companies trying to help people migrate now. And that's a big market, like, if you want to jump in that for sure. And what you're doing with healthcare is super essential. That's one really big component. You don't want to be in a foreign country and you can't go to the hospital and you can't pay for it. So that's a really important part.
Yeah. All right, so we're wrapping up. I just have to say again, thank you, Pieter, for being here. But also, I'm so grateful that we to go through these last 10 years and just and we've been
together, man.
We're
together.
And and here we are, and it's still very much a thing. Maybe we could feel it's too mainstream sometimes, but I'm also. For everyone here, if you're not following Pieter Levels online, definitely do that. By the way, did you make Pieter.com?
Yeah, about Pieter.com. It was very difficult.
I went out there yesterday. It's like.
And my girlfriend's very angry. She's very angry that I spent the money. But it's my childhood dream, so.
Yeah, so if you want to go back and try what a computer was like in the early 90s and literally play games or use software.
Windows 3.1 at Pieter.com. But man, I agree, and it's really fun that we've both been in the same world for 10 years, and you get very successful, and it's very fun to see, and I'm very happy for you, and everybody at SafetyWing, so it's super cool.
Thanks, Pieter. All right, that was Pieter Levels, everyone. Give him a big round of applause.